So, what is the awareness mind? You may have heard the term awareness mind or witness mind and wondered what it was all about or how to access it. Well, firstly, the awareness mind is just the act of being aware of what's going on in your mind, like what you're thinking about. And it's not getting caught up in the thoughts, but just watching or witnessing them, kind of as if they maybe belong to someone else. Now, remember, you are not your thoughts. And if you are not able to separate yourself from your thoughts, then any self reflection work is just going to become really difficult. I like to think of the awareness mind as watching a river from the banks. It's really lovely standing on the side of the river and just watching or witnessing the river. But if you fall into that river, it's going to take you wherever it wants to go. And it's going to be really difficult getting out of a fast moving river. And so when people talk about your thoughts having you instead of you having the thoughts, this is what they mean. It's when you're just sort of drowning in the river of thoughts and you can't get out. Now, when you're in this space, it's really difficult to see any other way of being. So you're going to act out of conditioning instead of free will. And when you have your thoughts, that's when you get to choose how fast the river flows and in what direction the river may go. Now, this means that you are able to choose how you show up in the world, which means you're going to have a lot more free will because you're not just reacting the same way that your mind tells you you have to react. You can take a step back and think a little bit more clearly about maybe in this situation, uh, there's a different way, a different decision, or a different choice that can be made that maybe you've never made before. And that's the best one that needs to be made this time around. And so, how does one activate their awareness mind? Well, this can be a bit tricky because it is a skill that will need to be practiced. So, you're going to have to go easy on yourself, but at the same time, don't give up. Most people start practicing the awareness mind with guided meditations. And this is where you're going to listen to a meditation where someone is leading you and reminding you of what you're focusing on. So it can be easy to get distracted at first. So having someone lead you along can be quite helpful. It's just a lot easier to start with some guidance until you get the hang of what you're supposed to be doing, because you can just sort of feel lost or get distracted or wondering if you're doing it right or all those kind of distracting thoughts that come up. There is a really great free app out there called Healthy Minds. So that's worth checking out if that's something you're interested in. You can also just search on YouTube for guided meditations, breath counting meditation, or body scan. They're all great entry level practices that will help you engage with the awareness mind while providing you the support you need to help get you started. Now, after a while of practicing with these guides, you can start doing this on your own, just sort of watching your thoughts, not interacting with them or judging them, just sort of witnessing what is coming and going. And you can do this practice pretty much any time, like when you're brushing your teeth or cooking dinner or working out. Ideally, you start practicing the awareness mind when you are in a calm state, so not when you're being triggered or stressed out. And then once you feel more comfortable accessing your awareness mind in a calm state, that's when you can start to make real progress with your inner work. You're going to be able to notice when you started getting attached or start judging the thoughts. And this is when you're going to have the skills to sort of pause and redirect your mind. Being able to feel when you're getting caught up in the story or, being distracted, is just going to bring you great insight into what your ego doesn't want you to look at. Now, one big sort of pushback I get from a lot of clients is like, oh, I can't do it. It won't work for me. Um, and I always have to ask, is that true? Or is that just resistance showing up? The awareness mind is not something that you just start doing. Like running a marathon, you really need to practice this skill to build up stamina. Your ego doesn't want you just to watch your thoughts. The ego was designed to judge, to keep you safe, and it kind of likes the panic state of what ifs. And you're probably going to get really uncomfortable not judging because this is what the mind is always doing. So to sit and watch your thoughts and not judge them can often just feel really dangerous. Um, you know, all too often people give up because they feel so uncomfortable and they don't really give themselves enough time to learn how to just sit and watch the thoughts. Because, it sounds really easy, but it is quite difficult in practice. This is not how our mind is wired to just sit and watch. It's designed to judge. And most of us, we do accept practicing physical things, and we don't really allow ourselves to practice with our minds because it doesn't feel real, it's not tangible, it's harder to see progress. So this is where journaling can come into handy if you want to keep an awareness journal or a meditation journal, something like that. You can then flip back and just help track your progress that way. Because as humans, we really like statistics and tracking progress and all those things. But it's just really important for you to not give up on yourself and to keep practicing. And over time, you will start to notice the awareness mind turning on by itself, like a reflex. So sometimes you'll notice that your mind starts racing and then you become aware of that. And it's a really great feeling when you have the awareness that your mind starts to racing and that you need to take a step back and, take a breath or two or three, depending on what's going on. But yeah, more control is not the answer. Less attachment, less judgment of the thoughts is what is going to help you get through those moments. And so a couple tips for engaging the awareness mind: try lots of different meditations. Some voices are easier to listen to than others. Some people have different music that you like. If there's one that you like, you can stick to it. You don't have to change them up all the time. Some people like that, some people don't. Just find whatever works for you, and you may have to try quite a few different meditations or techniques for that. Active meditations can be quite helpful, especially in the beginning. I find active meditations give you this space to, as you're doing some physical movement, just to distract your brain a little bit so that you can start to have awareness of those thoughts while the brain is half busy. Start with 30-second intervals at a time, 30 seconds on of awareness, 30 seconds off, where you can allow your mind to wander wherever it wants to go. And then gradually build up the time where you are engaged in awareness. Just like any exercise, you don't just start running the marathon, you practice. And a lot of runners practice, running for 1 minute and then walking for 30 seconds. So your awareness mind is no different than that. It's also really important to celebrate the small wins. It's easy to sort of dismiss the 1 minute of focus. You can be like, oh, it's not that great, when other people can sit in awareness or in meditation for a full hour. But I guarantee you they did not start that way. So please celebrate the small wins. It's really important and will help keep you motivated. And if you can, try doing this as a daily practice. Like anything, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So daily practice is great. And in case you were wondering, why are we doing this? This sounds like a lot of work. This is just like another thing I need to do every day. Yes and no. There's lots of data out there about how meditation is good for your overall health, but the same can also be said for lots of other practices. And the truth is, all of these different practices or healing modalities, they can all be very similar, and often just have different words for the same thing. So just find a practice that challenges you to work with your mind, not necessarily controlling the mind, but directing it, or not having attachment to the thoughts that are happening. And because the more you purposely engage your mind, the less it's going to run wild and the less you will act on conditioning. And that allows you just to show up differently in the world. Cultivating the awareness mind can just really help you stay clear-headed for when you're being triggered, and provide you the mental space to separate the true reality from the false reality that your ego is creating. And without the awareness, you walk around in a world that's mostly made up in your own minds, and this can lead to a lot of confusion. You hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I thought this is what you meant," or "I didn't understand properly." It's just a lot of thoughts sometimes get into the way, and we jump to conclusions. So the more you can practice the awareness mind, the more that kind of smooths that all out, and then you can see more clearly as you start pulling back your own projections. And it also means that you can make better decisions, be firmer on your actions, and also have more compassion for yourself and for others. So remember, you are not your thoughts and you're not your emotions. And you need to have awareness to be able to separate these from your true self or your higher self. These are all human experiences that you can learn from if you have the awareness to step back. So good luck with the awareness mind.